You got to be ready to get punched in the face. That was probably the most interesting quote that came out of Game 3 the other night in Florida, and that was Matthew Tkachuk talking about, hey, if you want to win a Stanley Cup, you got to be prepared to get punched in the face and maybe do some things that you're not comfortable doing, but there's the ultimate goal, the bigger prize. It's a bit of a weird requirement, right? To be good at your job or to be successful, that you're going to have to, take one, a knuckle sandwich, if you will. If you're an Edmonton Oilers fan, it's been an excruciating 3 days since everything that went down on Monday. The over-analysis, the who did this, who did what, somebody needed to. Tonight, is it redemption? Is it retribution? Whatever you want to call it. But if you're an Oiler fan, are you ready to get punched in the face to get it? Fans in the Moss Pit are. Without a doubt, they've been doing this since Game 1. And did you see that? These videos are everywhere. There's some poor guy at the watch party with his family laid out on the floor. That's not cool. But he's willing to do it. Connor and Leon had no points the other night. How are they going to respond? I guess we're going to find out, and that's why we love it. Welcome to the Thursday edition of the SportsCage. It's Maz and Sharky in for Barney, who apparently golf is not going well in Waskesiu. We traded texts last night. He is not having, let's just say that radio is more his thing than him being a professional golfer. The show today, as always, Prairie Land Rentals text line is open at 306-936-6262. We're on the radio talking sports for the next 3 hours right here on 620 CKRM. You can also watch what we're doing on our social channels. We're up on X and on YouTube. And to get to our YouTube channel, just go to sportscage.com and like and subscribe. And anytime we start any new stream, you'll be notified and you can click right in. SportsCage is brought to you by Access Communications, trusted in rural Saskatchewan for internet, TV, and home security. Busy show today. Rick Zamperin, who is the brand new voice of the Hamilton Ticats, will join us in about 20 minutes' time. Say hi to Rick. Riders are there with a very injury-depleted lineup on Saturday, I might add. So we'll chat with him. Arash Madani, as always. Suits is coming up, and voice of the Riders, Dave Thomas, is going to join us. Sharky, have you ever been punched in the face at your job to do a good job or to get that promotion you wanted or to maybe make a sales budget? Where is the physical violence in your job success go?
Low, not punched in the face, threatened, chased, discouraged from living, got punched in the face at home by the ex-wife. But yeah, not at work. Work's been pretty low for facial contact. Yeah, the odd wrestling match, but no punches. But you know what? I will say this. Matthew Tkachuk, if you say you got to get punched in the face to win, it's because you started it, right? Nobody usually gets punched in the mouth unless they say or do something they're not supposed to. That's what I'd say to Matthew Tkachuk.
A couple of things. At 3:09 on this Thursday, June the 12th, Sharky said something. We could go Dr. Phil and open a huge can of worms, but we won't. And then on your last comment, I'm going to take it that you're more of an Edmonton Oilers fan than you are a Florida Panther fan.
Without a doubt, I'm an Edmonton Oilers fan. Okay. Yeah, and it's there's a little bit of, we watched Toronto Maple Leafs explode and, everybody's hair's on fire in Toronto and it's the end of the world and they're going to tear down the CN Tower and all the rest of it. And now we're seeing a little bit of that in Edmonton, and that's because there's an expectation to win. There's an expectation that they're going to win. Calgary doesn't have the same thing. Vancouver's just happy if they get invited to play, but there's a real expectation in Edmonton that they're going to win. So that's where some of this over-analysis comes from. If they're a surprise, if they're not expected to, they don't analyze the same way. So that's my thoughts on it.
Ryan Pinder, who we had on yesterday, who hosts the Barn Burner show, which is all about the Flames and sports and hockey, was talking about 10 years, basically. They've had McDavid and Draisaitl, and they haven't done anything with it yet. And you only get so much time, especially when you have these elite athletes. Like you said, Calgary has no superstars. Vancouver has one, but he's going to leave in a summer and a half. As soon as you can get a bus
ticket out of town. Yeah.
Pretty much. And the Oilers have had chance after chance after chance, not only with having these guys, but then still getting good draft picks, and they've mismanaged it. So I totally get it. Is the pressure on? I think did Leon and Connor, was it just Draisaitl that had no shots last game? Connor had shots, but they obviously had no points or anything. But I don't even think Leon had a shot attempt last game.
Yeah, he had one late. I remember especially on the power play late, he had one bounced off somebody. I wouldn't put too much stock in the loss. Edmonton's lost earlier in the playoffs, and they've had tremendous comebacks from that. Their bounce back has been awesome. So those of people that are going, it's all Florida now, and here's the other thing, people that are down on Skinner, I love this. You have a goalie who's been in the Stanley Cup Finals in the last 2 years, playing for your team, and you think that, who do you want, Hellebuck? You got to phone him at either a boat launch or a golf course. So be aware of who you're trying to pick, because the best 2 goalies in the National Hockey League right now are Skinner and Bobrovsky. The rest of the guys are on the golf course. So judge yourself accordingly as you make fun of
if you're watching the stream, I'm as Sharky's saying that, I'm doing the elbows up thing for him, because he's got extra shiny Oiler armor plating on today. Oh, we'll see.
His bounce backs after loss have been tremendous. I mean, sure. You go back to the Vegas series where they scored the late goal to make it 2-1 in the series. He closes with 2 shutouts. So I don't expect anything less from Skinner or the rest of the Oilers tonight. I do expect a lower scoring game than we've seen so far in this series, because both goaltenders have played well and have played well in this scenario. So I got the under on the 5.5, but I got an Oiler win and a McDavid and Draisaitl to get points.
Well, there's a lot of people worried about Game 4 tonight in Florida. There's a lot of people that, now that it was released about 5 minutes ago, the injury list for the Saskatchewan Roughrider game on Saturday in Hamilton. Listen, all was good. And then we played last week. There were some injuries. Then there's more. Thomas Bertrand Hudon has been ruled out for this weekend. Do we have Dave Colson? Is Dave standing by, ready to go? Do we have Dave yet? Okay.
Well,
we're going to bring him in.
We're double checking.
There's
more computer smoke in here right now. These guys are working so hard. They had a meltdown about an hour ago, and they've got, I think that's a Commodore 64 in the corner ramped up that they're trying to get stuff working on. So the boys are doing everything they can to keep us up to date. So they're looking to see where they got Dave in the mix.
Do we have was it a computer meltdown or an emotional meltdown? Because one is interesting, one is it happens.
It was not emotional. It was computer, not emotional.
Yeah. All right. Well,
literally, you can smell the smoke though in here. You can smell the smoke.
All right. Dave Thomas. So practice was closed today. So when practice is closed, because I had to just check with Dave yesterday. Now, he is the voice of the Riders. Now, there's things that Dave sees and hears that he will never, ever say or divulge to anybody else. So I was wondering, I'm like, well, close practice, not even he gets to go. He only has access to them once practice breaks, when they're available to everybody from the press. So nobody saw what went on today. But as far as injury list goes, it's not good. CJ Avery out. We knew that. Alberto Wachi out. Okay, there's Dave. Sean Bain Jr. Thomas Bertrand Hudon, Dave, with the groin, limited, did not practice, game status. He's officially out, correct?
Yes, he has been officially ruled out of competing in the game on Saturday for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. But guys, the sky isn't falling. The sun is going to come up tomorrow. Like, guys, it's okay. We're 1-0. We've got a deep team.
I agree with you 100%. I think this isn't a bad thing. You're going to have injuries over the course of the year. You got to know that there's backups behind them that can step in and play. And the Kadeem Carey edition now on Monday, Tuesday looks really, really important all of a sudden.
Yeah. And Dave, the obvious question, if there is no Bertrand Hudon, what happens now with the roster when it comes to running back? If AJ is going to play, and it looks like he is, well, who's backing him up?
Question number 1 today for Coach Corey Mace was, how did Thomas Bertrand Hudon look? Because, again, he was held out of practice yesterday, and so today he was a little bit limited, and Coach said that he was sprinting, but he didn't think he was going to play, but he was going to wait to play it out. They looked after, he got some treatment, they got more advice, and so they're going to hold him out. Question number 2, hey, does that mean Kadeem Carey plays this week? So the question and the answer that we received is that it's possible. He'll never say no to anything, will Coach Mace, but, and here's the but, if you bring Kadeem Carey onto the roster, there are a bunch of corresponding moves that have to be made, right? Firstly, you're bringing a practice roster player onto the active roster. Now, that would be accomplished rather easily when you look at the fact that Thomas Bertrand Hudon would then be moved to the 1-game injury list. So there's move number 1. But then he is an American, right? So you're going to be replacing a Canadian with an American, which means then you need to replace an American with a Canadian. And that's where it starts to get a little testy, because what do you really want to mix and match with from last week? Again, it's not ideal to go into a game where you don't have Thomas Bertrand-Hudon as your number 2 running back. But having said that, what are the other options that are out there? And Albert Awachi has been ruled out. Morgan Runge has got some reps this week. And again, he continues to get reps. He's more of a fullback tight end player. That is the way that they've been deploying him into the offense right now. So are you comfortable and confident only going in with one running back, or are you going to find a way? That's the question. And thankfully, I don't have to answer it.
Good out, Dave. Good out.
Dave's skills as being a politician are getting better by the week. You're like, question? What question? I didn't hear a question in there.
Yeah, doesn't bother me.
And Dave, if we learned anything last year about this Saskatchewan Roughrider team, resilient no matter what the situation. J.O. stocked the cupboards. The depth was incredible. Someone is going to pop. Someone is going to go off. Now, we saw earlier in the week that Antoine Brooks Jr. was moved to the active roster from the practice roster. Is there a chance that he ends up making the game day roster this week with that move?
Well, he's on the roster now, so yeah, there's a chance for sure. But also, the one thing that was revealed today in the injury report was, number one, AJ Ouellette is going to play. Also, Roland Milligan Jr. is going to play today as well. So both have cleared their concussion protocol. Both seem to be okay. So as far as that goes, it looks like everything's falling into place. So that might go ahead and mean that's a no to your question as I try to get off the fence. But again, until you see the depth chart tomorrow, you just never know.
Let's see. We got him here real quick. It was announced earlier today. I know we got Rick Zamperin coming up, who's the play-by-play voice of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. But this is a big day for a local guy. It's a legend. He's going into the Canadian Football Pro Hall of Fame later on this year. Frank McCrystal joining us on the Western Pizza guest hotline. The announcement was made earlier today. Frank, if you're there, first of all, thank you for taking some time to join us, and congratulations. When did you find out, and then what was the feeling after you got the word?
Well, actually, thanks for having me on, and it's easy to take time to talk to you guys for sure. I was just battling out there at Costco, which can be very, very dangerous. Very dangerous. There are a number of seniors out there with me, and it was like I'm lucky I'm still alive and walking here. So, but no, we found out. I found out. I guess about the beginning of April. Daryl Davis gave me a call. He's on the committee and said you're going to be going in, but it's a secret until they decide, until they're going to announce it. So I've known for a while, and I was out walking when Daryl told me, and then he said, "Oh, this is, you get a jacket, and there's a bust that's going to be in the Hall of Fame." And so I told him, I said, "I better keep walking then. I want to look good in there." So I don't know, but yeah, so I've known for a while.
Frank, I got a question for you. First off, congratulations. Great honor. Well-deserved after all your years with the Rams Club, both in junior and in university. But as you think about your time over that time period and all your years coaching, is there one particular event or game or instance that sticks out to you that goes, that was incredibly special, and that's what I want to remember the most?
Yeah, I think I don't know how many media people I've talked to today, and they all ask that question, and I'm always a little stumped by it. There's some great things, and certainly we remember some really good plays. A lot of times the losses that we had kind of stick with us, but there's Neil Hughes returning, a punt for a touchdown and a kickoff for a touchdown against St. Mary's in the Atlantic Bowl. There's Jason Claremont catching a 2-point convert in the Vanier Cup with a broken collarbone. There's, Johnny Ryan doing some amazing things as a player for us, a receiver and a punter and a place kicker. And, I think it's as much as anything, it's the players and the courage that they play with, the courage that they under the pressure, the courage that allows them to perform. When as a junior player, some of those guys were going to university, but some of them were also working. And, you go to university, you take your classes, and you try to work out, and then you come out to practice. So I think I've always been somewhat in awe of, how these players perform and how they manage to do what they do. It's pretty impressive.
Coach McCrystal, there was a lot of Rams pride today on the turf at Mosaic Stadium during Saskatchewan Roughrider practice. You could see it in Mitch Picton's eyes, in Jackson Ford, in Mark Mueller, who are all wearing Rams gear and very, very proud of this accomplishment for you. If you look back when you walked into the program as a linebacker to when you wrapped it up with the University of Regina, obviously times have changed. What are some of the biggest evolutions in the game that you saw from playing to coaching to even recruiting?
Oh boy, there's been a lot. It really has. Everything from training to the way you run practices, to video, to the number of coaches that you have. I mean, when I first started playing, we had 4 coaches. When I first started coaching, I think we had 5 coaches, and so now you're up to, you could not get by with that many coaches. You just wouldn't be able to do it. We went to video. We went to training where you're hiring actually people to train the players. It's been pretty amazing, and over the years you always get asked, who was the best player or what was the best team or those types of things, but it's really hard to compare unless you put them all in the same place doing the same kinds of things. I mean, obviously Jason Claremont and Roger Aldag and Bob Poley and Akeem Hicks and those guys are always going to be great players, whatever era they play in. But the leaps and bounds with training and understanding of the game and preparation is really quite phenomenal. It's happened over, 4 decades that I've been involved.
Coach, congratulations. The induction ceremony coming later on this fall. When they make a bust of you, what do they tell you what has to happen? Like, do you have to go sit somewhere? Is it all AI? Do they take a scan of your upper body? Is it a Polaroid we got to send in? Does Sharky need to come and take that photo? Like, how does the bust work?
Well, it's pretty funny. I have a very good friend, a guy that I taught with and went to school with. His name's Jim Gallagher, and Jim Gallagher was a teacher and a photographer and a jazz musician, and I called him up and told him this was happening because they want you to take a bunch of pictures, a 360 picture of your head and face. So I got him as a professional to come and do it, and it was pretty funny. And then I've had guys like Mark Mueller and Rob Vanstone ask me, so will your bust have a toque on it, and will you have a mustache? So, it was all pretty funny. But it all went off in pictures, and the pictures to the artist, and the artist is going to do it. So we'll see.
Well, we can't wait to see it. Coach, congratulations once again. Frank McCrystal, Canadian Football Hall of Fame inductee, the big announcement earlier today. And he made, probably the biggest accomplishment, he made it through Thursday afternoon at Costco with other rabid seniors out there getting deals. That right there is Saskatchewan tough. That is what being from the prairies is all about. Thanks for making some time, Frank. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're talking more football. Rick Zamperin, who is the new voice of the Hamilton Ticats, will join us on the SportsCage. Ticats Riders on Saturday. This Bo Levi Mitchell and his Renaissance resurgence. We'll get his take on all that. You're listening to the home of football, local, obviously, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders right here on 620 CKRM. Hey, when the Riders play, get the KFC Game Day Special, the Big Crunch for only $4.95 and the Big Crunch Combo for just $7.95 at participating KFC locations. Travel day tomorrow for the Riders. They're going to head east, land in Hamilton. There's no Four Seasons in Hamilton, Sharky. I don't think so. I don't think they're staying at a Four Seasons. It'll probably be some other hotel. Maybe a W.
Could
is
be.
there a, is
I
is
don't,
there
I,
a
I don't know what's
is there
in
a
Hamilton.
is there a Conrad there? Anyways, but yeah, Riders, Ticats on Saturday. Can the undefeated streak continue, or will the Hamilton Ticats bounce back from a week 1 loss in Calgary? Let's find out. Rick Zamperin is the new play-by-play voice of the Hamilton Ticats, and he joins us on the Western Pizza guest hotline as we bring him in. We got 1 minute. Okay,
1 minute. We get the 1 minute pause.
We got the 1 minute pause.
You know, when I was thinking about this game earlier in the week, I was out on the road the last couple of days and driving back. I was like, Hamilton is okay. They're better than what they showed last week, I thought. They're a better football team than that. They made some mistakes early, got behind, and had to press to get back into it. But I think the Riders found their groove, if you want, through the second and third quarter of their game. So I expect a better performance than we saw in week 1 for both clubs. I do expect the Riders to come out on top, even though we get some banged up, we get some injuries. It's just going to show the depth that Jeremy O'Day's put in place. And I think it's going to be a good game, though. Like, don't take Hamilton's not a free spot on the bingo card. They're not that middle X. You got to come ready to play against them.
No, they in spurts they played well in Calgary on Saturday, and at times, and there's oh, look at this. This I feel like this is Hollywood Squares almost. There, look. Who always sat? Who was the celebrity that always sat center square? There's always somebody eccentric and crazy. Hey, Rick, first of all, thank you for doing this. We appreciate it, and congratulations on the gig. It's pretty cool to be calling CFL football. You got a dream job like Dave does for a lot of us that grew up watching this game and then getting into this business.
Absolutely. Number one, thanks for having me on the show. Number two, what is old is new again. I was the Ticats play-by-play guy from 07 to 14, living out a boyhood dream, and now they've invited me back here for 2025 and hopefully many more years to come. It's the thrill of a lifetime. Calling CFL games is absolutely tremendous.
Well, long-time listener, first-time talker, Rick. Appreciate you doing this. He's in Hamilton here this week. Can you tell me first and foremost what the takeaway was from the game in Calgary? Because at times I felt frustrated watching it because I'm like, they're right there. It's just one play.
Yeah, it seemed to be, and a lot of the talk coming into this season, even at the end of last season, was this team needs to get off to a fast start. And obviously that looks like more wins than losses. And it seems like every year they're 0-2, or like last year, 0-5, and they're 2-9, when Labor Day rolls around, and it's just not good enough. So a lot of the, commentary from the coaching staff and the players towards the end of last year when they were officially eliminated all through training camp and even leading up to week 1 against the Stampeders in Calgary is, this is an important game. We have to win these games early on in the season so that they do matter in the win-loss column towards the end. And so, it seemed like everything that could go wrong in terms of those 3 or 4 plays that ultimately decide each and every game on the calendar kind of went Calgary's way. Kind of muffed punt by Nick Constantino in the end of the first half. The opening kickoff of the second half didn't go their way, whether the Ticats were not paying attention or not, or whatever happened. It did not work for them. Defensively, they made, a couple of key plays with turnovers, but then their offense could not follow suit with points off turnovers. So they have a long way to go. They have some work to do. The buzzword this week has been irritable. Coaches, the players are irritated at not getting the job done in week 1. Let's see how they respond here in week 2 on Saturday night.
I made the comment earlier that Hamilton's a better football team than I thought we saw last week against Calgary. What do they think of the Riders coming in? What has been the buzz around the Big Green Machine coming to town?
The buzzword is great football team, well coached, tough elite defense, an offense that can score virtually at will when they're on their game. Saskatchewan's always seems to have a good special teams unit as well. So here's a team in which any opponent, any week, has to beat Saskatchewan at least 2 out of the 3 phases on the football field. And that's easier said than done, as you all well know. So Hamilton's offense has to be on point. The defense has to be much better than what they showed against the Stampeders. They can't let Saskatchewan score 30-plus points. That's a recipe for a big fat L on that side of the ledger. And on special teams, the Ticats return game looked really good last week with Isaiah Wooden returning a 105-yard kickoff for a touchdown. But the punting, the coverage unit has to be that much better. Field position, for momentum, maybe a turnover on special teams. So in order to win 2 of those 3 phases, I think all 3 phases of their team have to be much better against the Riders on Saturday.
I'm hoping you can peel back a layer for me a little bit. Not a lot of people know this, but Barney and Sharky do not like each other, but they actually get along really well when they're working together. Having said that, though, last year it seemed like the relationship between Scott Milanovich and Bo Levi Mitchell hit rock bottom, but somehow the 2 professionals were able to collaborate and find some success. Is that kind of the message? Is that the relationship between the 2 of them?
I think they're on much better terms going into this season as opposed to especially the start of last season. I think the thing that got under the skin of Scott Milanovich was too many turnovers. As good as Bo was in getting yardage and getting some touchdowns, they weren't translating into wins because he and the team as a whole were turning the ball over far too many times in the opening weeks of the 2024 regular season campaign. And, he got benched, as we all know. Taylor Powell comes in. He gets hurt in that game. Bo comes in. And it's almost like an in-season renaissance for Bo Levi Mitchell. And he goes on to have one of the most extraordinary seasons in Ticats history. Most ever passing yards, led the league in touchdown passes, unfortunately still led the league in interceptions. That second half of the season for him and the offense was like night and day because they weren't turning the ball over as much. They were scoring a lot of points. They were getting some wins. So I think from about Labor Day on, Milanovich and Mitchell were on the same page, have been on the same page. They are not only coexisting, but they're liking what they're getting out of each other. And I think there was a lot left to be desired last week, but I think at least the offense and what Mitchell has brought to the table is trending and has been trending in the right direction for several months now.
Corey Mace's defense, playing that bend but don't break, playing that zone. What causes Bo more problems in your opinion? Is it the man or is it the zone defense?
Well, I think it's the confusion because, and Calgary did this very well last week. Damon Webb was, an elite player last season. He showed that he can still bring it this year in his first campaign with the Stampeders because he was coming down and helping the linebackers, helping the halfbacks. And at times they were showing zone and they switched to man. And I think that not necessarily confused Bo Levi, but really threw him off. And that's a surprise because you are preparing for weeks knowing that Calgary is game number 1. I think they were a little taken aback at what the Stampeders were able to do on defense. You look at that side of the ball, apart from Webb and Ormalade, you look at the names and think, okay, we might have a chance to beat these guys scoring a lot of points, but credit to the Stamps. Not only did they stop them time and time again, but they made some big plays on defense to kind of quell the tide, especially early on as Calgary's offense got going, and Dedrick Mills was a man on fire last weekend. So I think Bo in the offense was a little taken aback at what Calgary not only had game plan for, but executed as well.
I look at the Hamilton offense, Rick, and the first thing that jumps off the page at me are like, oh my gosh, he's got so many weapons, so many places that he can distribute the ball, but there's only one ball and there's one Kenny Lawler that's been added into that mix. How is that integration gone? And again, you can't give everyone the ball, so does that create a little competition within practices?
It definitely has in training camp, in the preseason games, and we saw a little bit of it in the loss against Calgary. There's only one ball. Bo's got to pick his spots, but he also wants to be explosive as well. And they did a good job last season, early on, really throughout the season, of getting those big plays. And now he's got a new toy to play with. But only one guy can be the star of the show on each and every play. And saying that, the offensive line has to do their part. The other receivers have to block. Greg Bell out of the backfield has got to get some productive yards, especially on first down, to open up that passing game. They were too one-dimensional last week. The run game was abysmal. Bo wasn't sacked, but, he was pressured a few times by Ormalade. So as a whole, the offense has to be much better. But yes, this offense is capable of scoring 30-plus per game, but they got to show much better than they did last week.
Are there any big lineup changes that we can expect for Hamilton from what we saw last week? Knowing that, Saskatchewan's coming in with a few injuries and some replacements. What does Hamilton look like?
I think the big two is Brendan O'Leary-Orange, who, Canadian depth receiver who has shown, he's been on, good footing with Bo Levi. Doesn't look like he's going to go. He's got a rib cage injury, wasn't a participant in practice. The other one is sort of a question mark. He's questionable going into this game against the Roughriders, and that's Isaiah Wooden. He's got a bad hamstring. He could play, but they might be extra cautious knowing that this is game one of 16 more to come after this. So they might press pause on him, and that would be somewhat of a loss because here's an explosive guy who's got tremendous speed. He can flip the field, and as we all saw, can take it to the house at any point in time. So that'll be an interesting development to see who they replace him with. Quavian White, who's a newcomer to the Canadian Football League from the NCAA and had a cup of coffee in the National Football League, can not only play linebacker or defensive back, but he can return kicks as well. So he could be a sub if Wooden can't go. Otherwise, they're pretty healthy. All the stars are going to be there. Just a matter of them, being all on the same page and getting the job done.
Rick Zamperin joins us on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. He's the play-by-play guy for the Hamilton Ticats. Now, as a wrestling fan, or if you pay attention to wrestling, you have baby faces, the good guys, and you have the heels, the bad guys. I would say that your color guy is one of the ultimate heels ever in the CFL. Simone Lawrence, no shortage of entertainment no matter where he went. It was always fun as a Rider fan whenever he would make his way to our fine province. Somebody to yell at, maybe he would yell back at times. What's it like working with Simone? He's a character, to say the least.
One of his favorite stories, and I asked him about this actually about a week ago, is just, the interaction he had really on a game-by-game basis with fans. And we always get the impression that these players can't hear what's being said, but they can. Yeah. And he did. And he responded at times. And, he just relayed the story of, these crazy Saskatchewan fans with watermelons on their heads, yelling at him. He's yelling at them. But it's all in good fun, at least as far as he's concerned. Here's a guy who, as you know, has, his energy knows no bounds. He's also a great student of the game. So he is able to describe what just happened on a play and do so in a way that the average fan, hardcore or not, can understand. Why did that play materialize? Why was that guy open? How did the offensive lineman miss this block? Or, what was the impact of that? So he has an innate ability to translate that in real time to the average fan. It's fun to watch, and he has that infectious energy that brings the broadcast to another level. I'm so happy he's, my right-hand man, and looking forward to the rest of the season with him beside me.
There's no Luke Mullender. Let's be clear. He's no Luke Mullender. Yeah.
There's only one of those.
Yeah.
Well, what was his thoughts? And I guess you don't want to put words into his mouth. What were the thoughts that you shared when you looked at the defensive line play from last week? From the outside looking in, again, Vernon Adams Jr. is going to do things with his feet, but I thought that there was a very good job. I don't know what I'd grade it at, but of keeping him in the pocket and making sure that he was a passer.
Certainly there were some missed assignments, and Simone and I talked about that, and the rest of our broadcast crew. It wasn't a perfect outing for the defense, but they got a couple of sacks. The times that they did pressure VA, he made a couple of mistakes. Hamilton got 2 interceptions. They got a third that was negated by a roughing the passing penalty that I thought was a little soft, but the league wants to protect its star players, and I fully understand that. But at the end of the day, the defense allowed far too many first downs when Calgary had 2nd and 9, 2nd and 13, 2nd and whatever. It seemed like the Stamps were getting a fresh set of downs at key moments in the ball game, and ultimately translated those into points. With at the end of the day, the Ticats just couldn't overcome. So overall, I thought the defense, especially compared to game 1 last year, was much better, much more formidable. They seemed to adjust on the fly. I'd like their secondary way better this year compared to last year with the addition of Deshaun Amos. And when Reggie Stubblefield is healthy, and they're going to be that much better. But this D has a few more levels to get to be considered anywhere close to being an elite level defense, like I think Saskatchewan can proclaim here in the early going of 2025.
How much does Katsantonis, being that hard-hitting safety, that calming presence back there, because he's a vet now, and there are a lot of young guys on Hamilton's defense, maybe not a lot of household names yet, but I look at Katsantonis and I'm always like, that is a guy that, hey, if he was ever on our team, I know that we would love him. Rider Nation would love him. He's a great Hamilton Ticat and always comes to play.
Yeah, he's got the DNA of what a Ticats player is. Hard-nosed, a student of the game, a guy who can rally the troops when things aren't going well, hard hitter, is always relentless in his chase to the football. And you pair him with Destin Talbert, who's an up-and-coming halfback, the addition of Amos. Now you have Jonathan Moxey, who's that Swiss Army knife at cornerback and play some linebacker. Jamal Peters can be that shutdown, boundary side cornerback. The secondary is much better in that kind of captain back there as Katzendonis, who's kind of, making sure everyone is in position, rallying the troops when they're down. So, yeah, he's been a perfect addition and a very consistent performer as well. He doesn't miss a lot of games. I know he missed, I think it was 3 or 4 last year because of the injury bug, but day in and day out, he's there. He's producing. He's getting big interceptions, momentum swinging plays, pass knockdowns at key moments. He's been an awesome addition ever since arriving in Hamilton a few years ago.
I think we will wrap here. Now it was called the Donut Box, nickname Tim Hortons Field. Is there a new corporate name for the Hamilton Ticats where the stadium is? What are we going with?
Not yet. I've heard they're close, but nothing has been officially announced. The Donut Box is no more. The Tim Hortons Field experience ended after a 10-year corporate sponsorship deal with Tim's, but looking forward to the next one. And if it is the one that I hear close to signing, it's going to be pretty cool.
Nice.
Mitchell's Lemonade Stand Field. I didn't think that was going to happen.
That's pretty close. Pretty close.
Sometimes if I'm watching the Rogers Ontario feed for the hockey games, a lot of pizza. If it's the pizza at Hamilton Ticat Stadium, there's that. Let's see. There's a million options there. Well, Rick, thank you for this. We really appreciate it. And we're looking forward to this on Saturday. I know it's week 2, but every week for us is like we're playing at the Grey Cup when you're part of Rider Nation and we haven't won a Grey Cup in 12 years. Oh, wait a minute. 12 years is a long time. What's the number in
Thanks
Hamilton?
for bringing that up.
Yeah. Okay.
1999 was a long time ago. We're not even in the new millennium, and we haven't won a Grey Cup. But hey, listen, Saturday night as well, Garney Henley's number 26 is going to be retired. So maybe that will inspire this new generation of Ticats to go all the way.
And we had him on earlier. On down the line, Frank McCrystal's head will be gracing your stadium there when his bust is unveiled later on.
Awesome. And a well-deserved bust it will be, for sure.
Yeah.
Rick Zamperin, play-by-play voice of the Hamilton Ticats on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. Thanks for that. We will take a break. We come back. Hey, listen, I had to get it in there about the last time because I was getting flack the other day about it's been 12 years, and I'm like, listen, as a Rider fan, 12 years, that's 5 minutes in
nothing.
Rider time.
It's nothing.
It's nothing.
We'll be right back there. It's all good. I love it.
That is nothing. It's time to take a break here on the Sports Cage. If you want to jump in on the show today, Prairie Land Rentals text line is always open at 306-936-6262. That's where you can pick the score for SaskTel. Closest to or bang on can win you a $200 SaskTel gift card and tickets to an upcoming Rider game. Text us your first name, your last name, and your score prediction to have a shot at winning. This is the Sports Cage on the home of Saskatchewan Roughrider football, 620 CKRM. JJ Spawn shot a 66 at the U.S. Open today. He's leading after the first round. Barney Shinkruk, who's golfing in Waskesiu at the Lobstick, did not shoot a 66 today. And I don't think he's leading after, which would be day 3. He may be... He could be Rory McIlroy at the Canadian Open and not be making the cut. We're not sure. Tonight, the Regina Red Sox are in Weyburn to take on the Beavers. Tom Lang Park, first pitch there goes just after 7 o'clock. And it's Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final. Edmonton Oilers, Florida Panthers, Sunrise, Florida. Face-off about 6:20 tonight. And that's your sports ticker for Reliance Heath Water Rentals. Thanks for being part of the show. Hour 1 is almost in the books. It's Maz and Sharky here. It's the Saskatchewan Day of Caring for wildfire evacuees. Today, it's a province-wide radiothon, so everybody is all playing on the same team today to raise money for the Saskatchewan Red Cross to help families affected by the wildfires. You can make a donation by texting RADIO, R-A-D-I-O, to 45678 to make a $10 donation.
Nice. And I'm sure everybody's going to appreciate the support they're getting from this Day of Caring through the North as they return home hopefully return home and restart their summer lives and everything else that's going on in northern Saskatchewan. It's been a tough run for those people for 2 weeks.
what a lot of people don't realize, so Luke Mullender, outside being the color guy for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, his real daytime job is running the Saskatchewan and Manitoba Red Cross and everything going on. So could you imagine everything going on? And he's got to do a football game last week. And then tomorrow he's got to hop on a plane, leave everything that's going on here to go do the game in Hamilton, and then probably the minute they get off the air, back on the plane, back on the phone, back on the laptop, and then it's just go.
I don't want to give Luke too much credit, but he's got some amazing people that work for him, that cover for him, and make things work really well at the Red Cross. It's deeper than Luke. Don't think he's running around collecting the dollars and distributing. He's got a lot of people working for him in the background. Great organization, and they've really stepped up at this time. I don't think we've had an evacuation of this size in quite some time, so it's overwhelmed a lot of the resources that are in place, and Luke's team's been able to step up and help people, and so give the entire Red Cross team a ton of respect for what they've pulled off the last 2 weeks.
And to the police services across the provinces. The press conference was announced the other day that they were able to catch and arrest a couple of people because some of these fires were started by arson. And it's one thing when it's Mother Nature, and then, hey, listen, that's been happening for years, and you got to deal. But with the people that were doing this intentionally, and now that they've been caught, and if there's more on the way, great. So when that came out, and if that's a small solace to some people to be like, all right, because some people think, well, if it is just an act of nature, you don't have a chance. But if it's man-made, it's a whole different story. And yeah.
You know, when things are dry in the north, like they've been this spring, and something as simple as a quad that's, had the muffler get too hot around some long grass or some dried out moss or something, somebody throwing a cigarette out the window that lays in the grass, the wind catches it, and we've got another problem. So the fires are human created. They're not all arson, but they're human created. And I know there's people that regret any decision that might have happened along the way. But if there's anything we can take out of that, it's to be smarter about those things that we're doing, right? Making sure that things, even if you got to carry a little fire extinguisher with you, if you're a quad or ATV, and they put a ban on those for the present time in the north, just because it's so easy for them to start a fire without anybody realizing it. And by the time it starts, you're long gone on the ride. So, just be careful when you're out there, especially with the tinder dry conditions we've got.
Yeah, so once again, you can make a donation by texting the word radio 45678 and make a $10 donation. That works on any carrier. That was one of the texts that we had come in earlier, be like, hey, I'm this customer, no free shout outs. Yeah, that no matter what your cell service is, that is the number there, the short code to make the $10 donation, which will go to the Saskatchewan Red Cross, and those funds will be distributed. All right, I think Colson said we got to take a break. News, then we come back. Arash Madani will join us. There's action in Ottawa. Nothing to do with politics. No, I'm not saying there's not a lot going on there too, but as far as the football team goes and their starting quarterback, and maybe we'll get into why Drew Brown isn't playing this weekend. It's Saskatchewan Roughrider related. This is the SportsCage. We're streaming on our social channels on X and on YouTube. If you want to get at that, you can just go to sportscage.com, and right here on the home of local sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. One of those flip back and forth kind of nights tonight. You've got the Game 4, Panthers-Oilers face-off after all the junk gets in by about 6:20, but then Sharky at 6:30. You've got the BC Lions, the much improved BC Lions, taking on the Zach Colero-less because he was dodging a drug test suspension. Chris Strevler-led Winnipeg Blue Bombers kicking off week 2. Colson, do we have a picture of Strevy that we can put up? I sent you 3 different shirtless Chris Strevler photos earlier. Where are they?
He can't find. Yeah, he's in a mad search.
No, that did not get blocked by the spam filter. That did not.
No, it was the Commodore 64 meltdown that we had earlier that sent that off. Yeah.
The Chris Strevler, shirtless at the Grey Cup parade in a fur coat, cowboy hat, and cigar, holding the Grey Cup, is why I'm a Strevler fan now. How can you not be?
The things
that's leading the charge tonight.
The things you get to do when you're young. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't do that shirtless. No, not doing that now.
Welcome to the SportsCage. Barney's away golfing somewhere, living the dream. Maz and Sharky
Waskesiu.
here.
He's in Waskesiu.
Yes.
Yes.
He said it's his putter that's letting him down. Can't putt.
Never the carpenter, always the tools. Yeah.
Whoa! Sharky starting hour 2 with another bomb, just like hour 1.
Yeah.
Got to go back and listen to the podcast to find out what Sharky said, which we didn't dive into because that's a whole other show. He's brought to you by Flooring Superstore. Just dropping bombs and getting new flooring when you need it.
I was there. Flooring options are amazing. You got to go check that out. It was super, super cool. Yeah.
I remember when we got flooring, this is like 5-6 years ago. And the guy said, he's like, listen, if you get this dark flooring, he goes, you're going to see every speck of dirt, dust, and hair that falls on it. I'm just telling you right now. I've sold a lot of this. This is the number one complaint. And we're like, oh, no, it's going to look great. And it does, and it looks great. But it shows. And
every
when you have
dirt
when you have 3 kids, and none of them are, they all could be walking around with a dustpan behind them for the trail of crumbs that they leave everywhere. It's like, oh man, Sharky, I've never washed a floor and swept a floor more in my life. My mother would be so proud because we did none of it as kids. We were just nothing.
I would like those, those built-in vacs you get in your house that, the hose and you plug it in. But you can also get them where they go underneath the baseboards where you just walk up and kick it and then everything you sweep goes in there. Those should be like in the middle of every floor. Like right in the middle of the living room. Just sweep it into the sink, kick it, and chook, sucks it all up.
I've seen that at a lot of barber shops. The newer ones have that now. They just shoot. I haven't been in a barber shop in a long, long time.
What the heck were you doing in a barber shop?
Oh, that's a whole other story when you finally hit it. All right, let's go coast to coast with Arash Madani. Let's bring him in on this conversation, which is off the guardrails already.
It's time to go coast to coast with Arash Madani for Smart Investing Solutions. Be smart with your money. Call Brian Gawley at Smart Investing Solutions, 546-2533.
Arash, you're familiar with the picture I was speaking of Chris Streveler, shirtless with the fur coat, the gray cup, a cowboy hat, and a cigar.
Yes,
you know absolutely. That photo, don't you?
That was 2019 Grey Cup. That was the first Bombers Grey Cup that he was.
There it is. Oh, look at that. So there's me. I Googled those, and thank you, Colson, for splicing that all together. That's a good look, isn't it?
Now, question. Is that not? Question.
Yes.
I should know this. I don't. Wherever Chris Streveler went to school, do you think in these photos his blood alcohol level is above or below the GPA that he had as a student athlete in college? Let me quickly look up.
The BAC is above the GPA.
The GPA.
Although maybe I'm mistaken, his education on Wikipedia says Marion Central Catholic High School. So
could be the first time. Could be the first time.
Played at Minnesota and South Dakota. There you go.
So that's going to kick off week 2 tonight. And he's leading the charge because Zach Collaros, because of the missed phone call from the most CFL thing that happens every few weeks when the CFL does something, which makes headlines. So, yeah, it's all on Streveler tonight.
Zach Collaros didn't respond to the spam call and the spam text. He suspended a game and loses a game check, and we're robbed of Zach versus Rourke. Great. Yeah, that.
How do you feel? How do you feel, Arash? Quit sitting on the fence. Where are you on this one? Yeah.
At least they still sold it out. I think it'll be a great night in Winnipeg.
It will be. Yeah.
Yeah, Princess Auto Stadium. Hey, we chatted about this back on Tuesday. Because of a hit he took in the game against the Riders, that Drew Brown didn't finish the game comfortable and practice limited, and now they've officially ruled him out for the home opener against Montreal, correct?
That is correct. The line moved from Montreal -1 to Montreal -3.5 in short order. And you can understand why. Like, the Alouettes pass rush was just so good against Toronto. But this is what I've been led to believe, guys, that it's something like a hip pointer for Brown, who obviously didn't practice much of anything this week. I wonder if this was week 12 and not week 2, how different things may or may not be. But obviously, the next man up is Matthew Schultz, and away they go there with the Red Blacks. Just a brutal way for a home opener to not have your guy.
The hit looks pretty innocent. I mean, it wasn't like it was a late hit or anything. He actually ducked down and got run over, and comes up holding his hip. So
just collision sport, Sharky.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's like my life. It's a collision sport. You never know what's going to happen. Yeah.
on the Matthew Schultz front, there are times when he looks good, like he has all the tools to be a starting quarterback in the CFL, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't ever, well, no, it just never ever strings together. And I'm not saying that he should be the starter, but Schultz is one of these guys. How many chances has he had on how many different teams? He's always kind of that second guy, but never the main guy.
Is Dakota Prukop still in the league? Like there are guys who just continue to get jobs because it's hard to find a quarterback. You know, I honestly don't even know what to say. Like, it's the hardest position in sports. There's not a lot of supply, and if you're somewhat competent, there's going to be a job for you if you're willing to be out there. You know, like at a lot of talk about Strebler, at a lot of different positions along the way, there's no chance Chris Strebler, with his injury history, with going down the NFL, coming back, getting hurt again, there'd be a job for him. And here he is starting the home opener for the Bombers, starting the season opener for the Bombers. That's just the nature of the position in pro football, and it's not a CFL thing.
Exactly,
because there's a lot of mediocrity starting in professional football on both sides of the border in any league that you're going to watch. 2 words: Aaron Rodgers. Grandpa Aaron Rodgers is going to be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Sharky, a little respect. He's a married man now. He walked down the aisle a couple of months ago. Probably there was ayahuasca in the cake at the reception for everybody to get a little nuts. Yeah. So to me, the most intriguing game is tonight's game. The Bombers, they're old. Well, they're still good. They still got Mike O'Shea. They usually have depth. All right, how do they do without Caleros? And then BC, was Edmonton that bad, or was BC that good? Can they take the show on the road? And can Buck Pierce, going back home to where he had a lot of success as a Bomber coach, put it all together with Nathan Rourke, and can they go in there and steal one? What's your game that's intriguing you this week?
Mine's Toronto-Calgary. I want to see what Nick Arbuckle can do. I want to see what adjustments that Argonauts offensive line will make after getting absolutely turnstiled by the Alouettes. I'm interested to see if anybody on that, from a skilled position standpoint on that Argos offense, other than Coxie, can do much of anything. Look, I get it's early in the season. I get it's their backup quarterback, but they're still the defending champs. I am not sold on Calgary at all. I still think the Stamps are meh. But I'm more interested to see what Toronto has up its sleeve and how they're able to kind of scrape themselves up off the mat, because they were left there in Montreal right on the map.
It was interesting to me that Montreal, the pressure wasn't 6-7 guys. It was 4. It was 4 that ran over their offensive line, and at will. Like, there was no stopping. They were taking tickets. They were at a turnstile.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I think there's only been one change to the Argos offensive line from last year. Like, their defense got crushed in free agency. So I talked to somebody over there this week, and they said they think they know how to clean it up. The question becomes, Sharky, how quickly can you do it? You know, coming off a full training camp. So we're about to find out.
Yeah, I suspect it's going to take more than a week. Yeah.
I find with Nick Arbuckle, if he has time, that's his worst enemy. If he gets thrown into a game like the Grey Cup, he does well because he doesn't know. If you give him 5 days to think about being a starting quarterback, it seems to fall apart. But when they would put him in games from time to time, bring him out, he'd go in there, doesn't think about it, and he plays. Because I'm like, that was the frustrating part. There was not a lot going right for the Argos, but you're watching going, Arbuckle played so well in the Grey Cup. But yeah, we're watching against this Montreal team with a whole offseason and a training camp to prepare, and this. So
you know why I'm smiling? I'm just like
why
thinking about if Randy Ambrosie's wet dream came to be, and there was expansion in Halifax and Quebec City. Right now, Maz would be just salivating at the prospect of Arbuckle versus Schultz. QB1 versus QB1 in Halifax tonight.
Who was that quarterback that the Riders cut last year in training camp? because Dolegala he's able to stick around because like Winnipeg or Hamilton picked
Mason Fine.
Mason Fine would call Mason Fine's agent because he'd be making a comeback and it would be a redemption tour. Listen, all right. So Colson on Tuesday emailed you. He was wondering about
just one sec before we move off the CFL for a second. The Hall of Fame announcements came out today, and we can talk about that more in the fall. Some great names. I worked with Brian Chu on a couple of Grey Cups in my Sportsnet days. And I covered Chu when he was with the Alouettes. Here's a guy who's from Vancouver, went to Vancouver College. Now he's the head football coach there. CFL X account has a great video posted. Very emotional Brian Chu getting surprised the honor today. But I remember, and Brian loved to have a good time, but when it came to football, he was all in. And I remember we were at dinner in Edmonton, 2010 Grey Cup, and we were talking about, being an offensive lineman. And Chu had this line. He said, a great offensive lineman hears his name 3 times in his career. The day he's drafted, the day he retires, and the day he goes into the Hall of Fame. And today Brian Chu heard his name for a 3rd time. And
so he's a great offensive lineman.
The middle of that Montreal O-line with Anthony Calvillo at quarterback and Mike Pringle running the football. And the irony of it is a receiver that's going to the Hall of Fame with Chu was his teammate on those Alouettes that won a Grey Cup, should have won another, Jermaine Copeland. So congrats to the 2025 class, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that when induction weekend comes up.
Nice ad, Arash. Nice ad.
Way to bring up 2010, Arash. Way to make everybody mad that's listening. But not that we, all right.
Let it go.
Let it go,
Maz. Let it go.
Would you prefer we talk about 2009? Is that what you prefer?
Yeah, exactly.
And I've said this on the show before. I don't even remember 2010 because of the dark shadow that 2009 cast. That is a way bigger punch in the gut than 2010 to be like, that's right, we were in the Grey Cup in 2010. Yeah. But it's funny, if you talk to Luke and Darian, any of those guys, they say they had a better team in 2010 than they did in 2009.
They did.
It was just
not as good.
Yeah,
I know. Can of worms. Canadian swimming trials are in Victoria. Summer McIntosh, 3rd world record in 5 days last night. Can we just speed up and get to the Olympics already? Arash, go rent a pool. Round up everybody. Let's get these gold medals coming in. She's hot.
Well, it's not just that. So McIntosh breaking 3 world records in 5 days. There's only one other swimmer ever to do that. And that's Michael Phelps.
Oh.
This is what we're talking about. This is now becoming the comp for an 18-year-old kid who went to Paris and won all the medals and now is on an assault of the record books and is going to go to the World Championships in Singapore this fall, and her eyes are set on doing it all over again. I know this is crazy to say, but again, she's only 18. 3 golds in Paris and a silver. 3 world records broken. Guys, we could be talking about the most accomplished Canadian athlete ever when all is said and done on Summer McIntosh's career. That is not hyperbole. That is the trajectory that McIntosh is on right now.
Yeah, because the first time we saw her internationally was the Olympics in Paris. That I can remember. That was the common name, right?
Right.
And that was she was 16, 15 years old?
And just prior to that, Sharky, I was at the Olympic trials in Toronto a month or 2 before Paris. She broke her own world record there. You're just like, what's happening right now with this kid? And she does it with such a calm. She does it with such an ease. And the furthest thing, this is what you always wonder about. With athletes, especially with individual sport athletes, in particular with individual sport athletes who are teenagers, will complacency set in? Well, you know what McIntosh has done since Paris? She's changed her training headquarters. She's no longer in Florida. And after the World, she's going to team up with the same coach who once upon a time coached Michael Phelps. That is how driven she is. That is the singular focus that she has. She is after greatness. She's not about the clicks. She's not about the selfies. She's not about her brand. She certainly does have some endorsement deals. This kid is about being the greatest to ever do it. And the payoff so far has come, and you just get the sense this is just the beginning. There's a lot more ahead in this young woman's career.
And I'm just going to go out on a limb, probably had a better high school GPA than Chris Streveler. All right. Matthew Tkachuk, after the game the other night in Florida, said, you got to be prepared to get punched in the face. And he was ready to, because he did, to do your job, because there's a bigger thing. They want to win a cup. Arash, tonight, it's so funny. Game 3 was so crazy. I expect Game 4 tonight to almost have none of that. They may just get back down to business. It'll be good business, but it's not going to be shenanigans part 2 tonight in Florida. Do you think?
It can't be. If it is, it means the Oilers are getting rolled again.
Yeah.
Okay.
And can't take those penalties.
To me, so much of this now is squarely on Stuart Skinner. And I think Chris Knobloch had to go with him. Like, you've gotten this far, here you are. It's not like it's 3-0 like last year. The series is still 2-1. And yet, doesn't it feel like such a roll of the dice to go with Skinner, even though it's the move you have to make?
I disagree. I really do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear it.
So Stuart Skinner's in his second Stanley Cup final in the last 2 years, right?
Yeah.
He was the goaltender of record that got him there last year. He's the goaltender record that got him there this year. Like, every other goaltender is fishing or golfing, except for Stuart Skinner and Bobrovsky. That's it. The rest of them are done, right? Are you telling me you'd rather have Connor Hellebuck right now? I got to go to a marina in Minnesota to find him, right?
No, I'm wondering if you go with Calvin Pickard right now.
No.
That's what I'm asking.
This is Skinner's game. His bounce back has been tremendous so far in these playoffs. His bounce back after a loss or after a struggle has been really good. Even so much so, I'm taking the under tonight on 5.5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Little sprinkle.
Florida's fourth
sprinkle.
line.
I got to carry on Barney's
Nosek.
sprinkle job here. I got to look after that.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah. Florida's fourth line, Nosek, Greer, and Gadjevich, when they've played, now, because Greer's kind of been in and out of the lineup, kind of been injured or whatever, when they played, they're good. They're better than Edmonton's fourth line. And we've talked about Marchand on that third line. Brad Marchand in the third line is a 2 on any other team, butting a 1, but that's just how he slots in Florida, eating blizzards and happy to do it. It's that depth. Yeah, you're going to see a better game out of McDavid and Draisaitl. You just will. The one thing that Florida, they're gamers, though.
Here's a question. If the Stanley Cup final ends tonight,
Meaning?
who wins the Conn Smythe? Obviously, it can. It's 2-1. It's Game 4. But is Brad Marchand in the conversation for Conn Smythe? Is the trade deadline acquisition, is the pest of the Toronto Maple Leafs, is the bleep and bleep and bleep Nova Scotian that everybody hates unless he's on your team? Is he the guy who wins the playoff MVP?
I wouldn't say no.
Right.
I'd say maybe.
I'd say probably. It's him or Bennett.
From Florida, it's either him. Yeah, it's him or Sam Bennett from Florida. No, there's no 2 more impactful players from Florida. Him and Sam Bennett. And it's funny. And I know that Hyman's been hurt and he's not in this series, but if there was up until that point, Zach Hyman was the one-man wrecking crew for the Oilers. What he was doing physically, he was scoring, and just everything he was doing defensively. But yeah, Bennett or Marchand from Florida.
I guess it'd be Sam Bennett's elbow going at certain people's heads. That might be the.
If you cross-check Bennett at the blue line, he'd land on Skinner. Like, that's the way he's playing right now.
I'd have to give Evander Kane credit because some of the acting he's done over these past few games where he pleads innocent when he's getting a penalty, like he has no idea that he was even involved in that. If he spends his off seasons in LA with one of his 8 ex-wives or whatever he's on these days and all that, kudos to his acting coach because he looks so surprised every time he does something and gets tagged and is skating off to the penalty box. Because like he said the other night, he goes, well, we were getting the call. They weren't, they were doing the same thing. It's just us that was getting tagged. So
it's us against the world, Evander.
Arash, I have I don't know if it's an apology or it's an admission of error or what I'm going to pass on. But when the Major League Baseball season started, I said the turning point for the Blue Jays is the anthem on opening day. They're done. Put a fork in them. It's over. What the heck is going on with that ball club?
They have over 20 come from behind wins, and it's the 12th of June. Their catcher, little engine that can. Like, he's just ripping the cover off the ball. A bullpen that's overused is somehow staying upright. A starting staff that is getting nothing out of Bowden Francis and has been without Max Scherzer with duct tape and bubble gum has been held together. And what are they now, Sharky? 7-8 games above 500, something like that?
Yeah, they're in the lead spot for the wild card.
Baseball right now.
Yeah, they're in the
37 and 30, 4 games behind the Yankees. Yeah,
Look, we're having this
I agree. Outside of Bowden Francis,
2.5
everything else is coming up roses. So, Bowden Francis is the only liability. It seems that everybody else is kind of having this crazy kind of run, but when he comes to the mound, it's like, oh no, that he is a true deficiency this season. And Max Scherzer, I saw the social media post last week. Besides the Blue Jays, he's still getting paid from 4 other teams, correct?
Oh yeah, he is. He is a businessman. He is an absolute businessman.
I don't care if he throws a pitch for the Jays. Dude has got it on lockdown with him and his agent. Like, I never have to play baseball again, and 5 teams are paying me.
I don't know when my feed froze, but I just want to say this. If we were having this conversation 2.5 weeks ago, and you said to me, okay, trade deadline's July 30th, July 31st, whatever it is, I would have said, okay, the Blue Jays are obviously sellers, right?
Not now.
Now you start to wonder a little bit.
No, they've put themselves in the mix by some miracle, and it's a short little fat bat catcher that's making it all happen. It's amazing.
Amazing.
Gives us
try and
all
pry
of us out of
Juan
shape
Soto
kids.
away from the Mets. Get Juan Soto from the Mets. Maybe they're just ripe for the picking right now.
I don't know. Anyway, I'm putting a note there that I completely missed that one.
Well, still a lot of baseball to go. Sharky,
it is.
But they are right
Sharky and the Mea Culpa. All right, my friend, Coast to Coast with Arash Madani. It's brought to you by Smart Investment Solutions. Be smart with your money, Mr. Scherzer. Call Brian Gawley. Brian would like to get a hold of that.
Yeah, Brian would love to get a hold. Brian would love to get a hold of Max Scherzer's the exchange rate on how much Max Scherzer's getting from those 4 salaries alone. We got the base.
I'd just buy crypto just for the fun of it, just to take the loss if it happens. It's Smart Investing Solutions at 546-2533. All right, time to take a break here on the SportsCage. Sharky, next we put you in the hot seat. We're going to do a NASCAR report, and I will tell you, I am not happy about where NASCAR is this weekend because they do not need to be going there. NASCAR is a thing. Keep it that. You're not the NFL. If you will explain in just a couple of minutes. This is the SportsCage on the home of local sports, 620 CKRM. Reed and the Albatross, my clutch performer. So Reed made only the 4th double eagle since the U.S. Open started keeping records 4 decades ago. His second shot from 286 yards on the par 5 4th hole at Oakmont. So the Albatross is the rarest shot in golf. And according to Barney, he hasn't made any Albatrosses this week. There's only a few hundred of them being made every year across the world compared to the 30,000 hole-in-ones that happen every year. Patrick Reed, clutch performer with the Albatross.
Barney doesn't need his putter for an albatross, so maybe that's what he should have gone for if his putter's avoiding him today. I got a clutch performer, and it's a shout-out in advance to the Pilot Butte Rodeo tomorrow night. Young fella who was last year's Saskatchewan High School Rodeo champion in the team roping. Jackson Ward out of the Radville area is going to be in Pilot Butte tomorrow night, and I'm going to be out there celebrating and watching him do his work on the slack, if you know what that means in the rodeo terms, and look forward to seeing Jackson come out on top tomorrow night in Pilot Butte.
Yeah, it's a triple header weekend for rodeo in southern Saskatchewan. So you got Pilot Butte, you've got the KRCA Rodeo in Estevan, and you've got the Long Creek Rodeo in Radville. So a lot of miles being put on.
I'll bet you Jackson's doing all three. I'll guarantee you the kid's in more than one spot before the weekend's over. So come on, Jackson, throw that rope. Look forward to seeing you Friday night.
Tomorrow afternoon, right here on the show, just after 4 o'clock, Dustin Edwards, who's been on before, he does a rodeo podcast. He's a rodeo announcer. He's a former bull rider. We're going to come on. We're going to break down all these rodeos because you've got Pilot Butte and Long Creek. They're CCA, and then Estevan is KRCA. So they're different rodeo associations. You got different cowboys. Like, we're less than a month away from the Calgary Stampede. And there are guys, and it's all based on money and points and invites and all that. So there's a lot in play this weekend. And the Bud Light Cabaret in Pilot Butte on Saturday is the Gecko Band from Mexico. They'll be taking the stage.
I've seen them. They're good. They're good. Entertaining as heck. You'll have a great time with the Gecko Band. Yep. Love it.
Do they play La Bamba?
They do play La Bamba. They do play La Bamba. Yeah,
Colson, you got a clutch performer here.
Yeah, honorable mention to my butt, it's not working. There we go. Honorable mention to Summer McIntosh. 3 world records in 5 days.
That was an easy one.
If you're into
Pretty
that,
clutch.
Yeah, that was an easy one. Yeah,
if you're into that,
way to reach.
Yeah. Good investigative journalism, Colson.
Yeah.
If 60 Minutes calls and steals you away from us, we know why. You'll tell your landlord, buy your own bricks for your backyard, pal. I'm out of here.
I'm gone.
Are we drifting into does the NASCAR report have a fancy intro?
It does.
I'm not usually on Thursdays. It does. Okay.
It's got a very fancy intro. Colson, hit the intro.
Time for the fancy intro.
The SportsCage NASCAR Report, where rubbin' is racing, is brought to you by Croft Electric. 27 years of trusted, reliable home, farm, and commercial service for all your electrical needs. Visit croftelectric.com and on all socials.
Here I
Sharky,
sit with
can
my
I say
fancy,
first off? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Can I say first off, this to me is like NFL Europe. I don't like it. The games are awful. Stay in the States. All right, the NFL. NASCAR is going to Mexico City this weekend. Like, you don't think that there is a budding city with a track that you could add to the repertoire with the fans and all that, but no. And then there's problems with the plane today. They had to emergency land. They got all the drivers on one plane. This is just not. Sharky, I'll let you do your thing. I'm just saying I am not a fan of NASCAR going to Mexico.
Well, first off, let's cover last weekend. Denny Hamlin gets a win at Michigan. William Byron was the guy I picked. He was right there through lots of the race, ran out of gas. So Hamlin gets a win. Nice win for Denny Hamlin. He already had one, so he was in the playoff hunt. But Hamlin secures another win at Michigan, but he's going to miss this week. Denny Hamlin is not going to Mexico as his wife gave birth to their third child. So he's going to stay back, do some fathering duties because the NASCAR season gets more intense as we go along. And yes, they are going to Mexico City to the Aerodrome, I believe it's called. It is a road course in Mexico City. There is a reason they went there. There is a Mexican driver and one of the teams. So they're going to, obviously he's going to get a ton of press and a ton of opportunity in Mexico City. I still don't think he'll win, but Suarez is going to be in tough. It is a different look for NASCAR. They haven't left, in my recent memory, they haven't left the United States. I don't know if they ever did before. I know they haven't come to Canada. I can't imagine they would have gone to Mexico City for they've gone there before, but it was a long, long time ago that they went to the Aerodrome. It's held other races before. This place is not. They didn't build this track just for this event. This track's existed for a long time. But it is a road course, and we've got road courses coming up here over the next 3 of the next 4, with Mexico City, Chicago, Sonoma, California, and then the Tricky Triangle of Pocono, is in there. So a little different than our 1.5-mile ovals coming up. So some different drivers are going to look to be in the lead. We're going to look for Ty Gibbs, Shane Van Gisbergen, and Barney's favorite, the Allmendinger. AJ Allmendinger is one of the great guys on the road courses. But Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott both drive there as well. So a little different look this weekend. But it's, you know what? Why wouldn't Mexico City get a race? I think it's exciting down there. It'll be exciting for the people. They'll sell lots of merch. They'll sell a ton of merchandise in Mexico City. It's good for the sport.
F1 for sure, because F1 having a very European culture and flair.
Yep.
I'm not sure if you've seen the previews for that new Brad Pitt movie.
It
actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, I've seen a couple. Yeah.
They filmed part of that in Vegas last year when the F1 was there. They filmed some scenes. So William Byron driving the number 24. He's your number 1 driver, 576 points. He's got 1 win. It's funny when you mention when they run out of gas. It's funny when you run out of gas in NASCAR. It was a couple of weeks ago. It was a couple of young guys, maybe high schoolish 19s, driving a Chevy Corsica. All right. So the dude, because I pulled up as the dude with the jerry can was walking up to the car. So the mission was almost complete to be like, it's too bad that they don't make the NASCAR driver, when you run out of gas, to have to go walk back to the pit, get the can, refuel it yourself, to be like, pal, you were the only one driving this thing and you ran it dry. All right.
Yeah. You knew how much gas was in there. What were you doing? You got to get it back here on your own. Get out and push.
Curious question.
NASCAR.
Yes.
Sorry, NASCAR raced in Niagara Falls in 1952.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. And at Exhibition Stadium in Toronto in 58. In 88, they were in Melbourne, Australia for the NASCAR 500, Goodyear NASCAR 500. And then 96 and 97, they did the NASCAR Thunder Special at Suzuki Circuit Suzuka, Japan. And then 98, the Coca-Cola 500 was in Motegi, Japan, which was the last year of international racing to this point.
Think of the cost to take all those vehicles to Australia or Japan, right?
Yeah.
Think I can get going to Niagara Falls if you're in Michigan or if you're in upstate New York or somewhere. Like, that's not the end of the world. But to get all that stuff to Japan, are you kidding me? It's not like a baseball team.
Even to Mexico.
Yeah.
Even to Mexico City, you're trucking all of those cars.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're flying them or something.
No, they put them on their haulers, but yeah. You can't haul them. Can't put them on the hauler to Japan.
No. Question. In the old days, and I know it was the honor system, if you needed a jerry can, that people trusted people, you paid for the gas, you got the can, you brought it back. Does that still exist, or do you have to buy the jerry can as well?
You got to buy the jerry can now. Yeah. So they don't want to use jerry can back. You got to buy the jerry can.
And so I could only imagine what that costs, and I can relate that to when we were Sharky, here in Canada. If you had to go to a store and buy like a cheap styrofoam cooler, what would that cost? $2, $3, $4 maybe, just like the cheap styrofoam.
I'll bet you they're $10. I'll bet you they're $9.99.
Okay, not now, but let's say 5-6 years ago, before the world went crazy, right? Like
$4.99,
$5. So we're on vacation in Hawaii and we're staying at a rental, and the fridge was I'm like, well, we just got there and it wasn't all that cold. So we go to Costco, we do the giant shopping trip, the $600 shopping trip to get stocked up. We come back and the fridge is really not working. It's completely iced over. But we have all of this stuff now sitting on the floor. So I drive to a Foodland. We're on the Big Island, and I go in. And those styrofoam coolers, those $4 styrofoam coolers, were $19 each.
Yep.
Sucker has to buy 4 of them, along with $8 bags of ice, only to go back to find that we were only able to salvage some stuff. And 4 days later, we had to get a new fridge. It was a total disaster. So I can only imagine what a jerry can costs these days. In your worst moment, there are no favors coming your way. You're not catching a break.
I think $29.99 is what you're looking for a jerry can right about now.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a ballpark guess. I'd have to go do some research. This Google thing will tell me, but I think you're looking at $30 for a jerry can. But I haven't run out of gas in forever. Touch wood. So
yeah, me neither. I mean, that's something that is preventable. That's something that is preventable, and you know, but you know, we've all been there. Some of us only once, never to go back again. All right, it's time to take a break. When we come back, we've got audio from Coach Mace from after practice earlier today. It was a closed practice. He's going to talk about the roster. We'll dive into that next. Of course, Ticats Riders Saturday, kickoff at 5, pregame show right here on 620 CKRM. The broadcast network will start at 2 o'clock on Saturday. All right. Yeah. Oh, Prairie Land Rentals text line. If you want to be part of the show, have at it. 306-936-6262. Some of your texts coming up as well. This is the Sports Cage on the home of the Riders, 620 CKRM. Pros tonight for the Bombers. It'll be Chris Streveler as the starting quarterback because Caleros is serving the 1-game suspension for that missed phone call drug test situation, which happened back in the winter. At the U.S. Open today, J.J. Spawn shot a 66. He's your round 1 leader. And tonight it's game 4. Panthers-Oilers, Stanley Cup final. This thing is either going back to Edmonton tied at 2 or Panthers 3-1 with the chance to win it in Oil Country. Face-off tonight goes at 6 o'clock. And that's your sports ticker for Extreme Hockey and Sport. Oh, yeah. There's so much going on, Sharky. You'd like to invest time, like, with hockey and football, like, U.S. Open, like, I don't know if I'm going to get a chance. It's funny. I'll dedicate time for the Masters because it's the Masters, but it's funny. 6 weeks later, the U.S. Open comes. It's a major. It's not the same. Can I say I don't really care?
It's not that I don't care. It's just you don't sit down Thursday. Same. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's because the Masters, especially in Canada, it's the beginning of golf season. Like, it comes out first part of April. It's the beginning of golf season here. We've all got out our clubs. We've cleaned our shoes up. We've washed the socks we found in there from last fall. We're ready to go, right? It's golf season starting, so we get more excited. And it's a great tournament, and it's a great visual all the time. And then, after that, we fade to black on watching all 4 days, unless you're super passionate about the particular golfer or course that you're watching. But the Masters is something pretty special.
It's funny you mentioned the unwashed socks in the golf bag. What about the random stray beers in cans or half-drank Mickeys to be like, I don't even know from when this was. And you're like, yeah, we're just going to dump that and put that in recycling. That's not going back in the fridge.
You know, an old jug of sourpuss in the bottom's probably going to be okay, but that Coors Light that might have been in there for 9-10 months might be questionable. Yeah.
The mountains won't be blue on that one. Speaking of blue, Suits is in enemy territory. Glen Suitor joins us from Princess Auto Stadium. Next, this is the Sports Cage on 620 CKRM. Final hour of the show on this Thursday afternoon, and thanks for being part of it. We appreciate it. Barney is off this week, golfing up a storm.
Missing every putt. Every putt is what I hear. Yeah.
From the text I got last night. Hasn't been great. It's Maz and Sharky filling in for Barney today. Speaking of golf, Brian Raymond from Flowing Springs Golf Course, who always joins us on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Brian, at the U.S. Open today, there was an albatross. So for the uninitiated, that was a par 5 that was done in 2. To your knowledge, has that ever been done at Flowing Springs?
Not to my knowledge. I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but as long as I've been here, it hasn't.
I guarantee you nobody did it on number 1.
Well, no, I guarantee that, too. Yeah, for those who don't know, our first hole is 600 yards, so, yeah, it's a little tough.
Listen, Brian, if it were to happen, you ought to know that person is incredibly honest. They don't use foot wedge, like nothing like that. You could probably hook them up to the lie detector.
Well, you would hope that would be the case, yes.
Yeah. U.S. Open going on. Now we're really getting into the heart of golf season. And it's go time now. Little smoky, but all good. People out to golf, right? Not a problem?
You know what? It seems like ever since COVID, we've had a real surge in the popularity of golf, and that's just continuing on. There's a lot of people who have been new to the game, and it still seems to be improving. It's a great game to play for groups like families, fathers, sons, fathers, daughters. It's been great. the validity of golf is that you're not playing against the other person; you're playing against the golf course.
So it's self-depreciating sometimes, is what you're saying, Brian.
Well, I would never say that. At least not on the air.
Oh, Brian, you brought up a good point. With Father's Day coming up on Sunday, if you want to get Dad maybe a nice little gift card or a punch card or something like that, play some few around. Hey, when is Dad ever happiest? When he's away from the family, right? Flowing Springs Gift Shop is the ultimate destination.
Yeah.
All right.
Brian, what's the specials this week? What's going on?
Monday, if you're looking for a special, Monday and Wednesday, if you're a senior over 60 here, or a lady, it's $38 to come out and play the golf course all day. We have our afternoon specials every day, $38 after 3, $22 after 6, and we have a senior rate, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention our wonderful driving range. It's huge and it's been busy, but we have lots and lots of room. You don't have to wait, and you don't have to make a reservation to use it.
Still tee times available for the weekend, Brian?
Yes, we do have tee times. For Father's Day is filling up, but we do have room for sure.
Awesome.
And if you want to book a tee time, you can do that automatically online by going to the website, correct?
Yes, book online at FlowingSpringsGolf.com, or you can call us at 543-5050.
All right, Brian. Have a great weekend. As always, we appreciate it. And if anybody gets an albatross on number 1, you let us know, because we
will definitely let you know.
We want to talk. We want to talk to them about a few things. All right, some things that maybe they know a little more than we do. Right.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, take care.
Yeah,
that is a long.
Could you imagine?
First hole. It should be a par 6. Yeah, it's a big one.
At the U.S. Open at Oakmont in the old days, there was par 6s.
Was there?
And then they were complaining because the divots were too deep in the sand traps because of the rakes that they were using. Like, oh, come on. Really? For the millions you're making?
Yeah. Hit the
exactly.
Ball.
Just hit the ball. All right, Colson, do we have suits? Are we ready to go with a little press coverage with Glen Suitor in enemy territory this evening? Rider fans, Suits is at Princess Auto Stadium, so let's go to him now.
Time now for press coverage with CFL and Saskatchewan Roughrider legend Glen Suitor on the SportsCage. Brought to you by Bronco Plumbing and Heating, where professional service is guaranteed. They'll treat you right. 781-2090.
Hey, Suits, it's not like you're one to maybe fib on the golf course, but have you ever got an albatross? You ever shot a 2 on a 5?
A 2 on a 5. I've shot a 5 on a 3. I've shot a 8 on a 3. I've had a 10 on a 3. I've had a 10 or 11 on a 5, but I've never had a 2 on a 5.
Yeah, all right.
Good answer, Suits. Good answer.
And that's how most golfers are, you know. Yeah. Like when someone's like, "Oh, we're coming up on a par 3," and I'm like, "No, par 3s are the more embarrassing than a par 5, because if you shoot an 8 on a par 5, that's almost a win if you're not a great golfer. But when you're an 8 on a par 3, that's even worse. That's why you see guys snapping clubs, throwing clubs in the water, arguing with their spouses on their cell phones. It's just frustrating game.
You know, I played one time, guys, with a really good golfer, and we were on, I think, the second hole, and I did that. It was back when I was actually playing football, so you're right in that competitive mindset all the time. And I missed a putt that was about 4 or 5 feet, and I got really mad, and I smacked my putter on the side of the thing when I was walking back to the cart. And he goes, "Hey, just want to ask you something. How much do you practice putting? Like, how much do you practice it?" And I said, "Never. I don't think I've ever practiced putting." And he goes, "Okay, well then I'm just wondering, because you got really upset with yourself when you didn't make a putt, but yet you never ever practice it. So you see there's a gap there. Do you see where the gap is? See, if you practice it and then you miss, then I can understand you getting upset. If you don't practice it and you miss, you should just go to the next hole and grab a hot dog."
If your warm-up is 2 beers and a hot dog and going to the first tee, you don't get to be mad when you hook the ball. No.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And and when you do something for a living and you watch people do it and they're really good at it, and then you go and try it and you don't, I don't know what you're expecting. All right, Suits, let's talk a little football. Earlier in the show, we had pictures up on the live stream of Chris Streveler in a fur coat. He was shirtless with a cowboy hat, a cigar, and holding a Grey Cup. I love that look. That's a good look for anybody. There it is right there. Tonight, he's the starting quarterback for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And I thought in the preseason game against the Riders, it was preseason, that he looked good. He looked like he was making throws and doing things that maybe we hadn't seen out of him. What are you expecting from Streveler tonight for the Bombers? Because Caleros is suspended and he's not dressed for the game.
Yeah, I'm expecting Streveler to play very, very well. There's reasons for that. One is his experience now, and experience playing in games in the CFL. But I had a great conversation with him this week and asked him about that very question. When you get hurt, he got hurt in the Banjo Bowl last year. We're having all through the rest of the season and through the off season. So he said, understand how quickly the chance can be taken away from you. You really when you get that opportunity to actually go and play again. I just see.
Hey, Suits,
ready
Suits,
for this opportunity, guy.
Your phone's breaking up, so we're gonna just filibuster here. We're gonna call you, okay? We're gonna old school call you because the video stream it's breaking up here or whatever. So yeah, we'll do that, and Colson will give him a call.
1970s technology coming into play right now. Yeah.
Hey,
is
Winnipeg,
that our Commodore
get your
54, 64 computer giving us suck grief?
I don't know.
Do
they not have cell service in Winnipeg? Barney said COVID's still happening there because everyone wears a mask.
The cell service is new there. Yeah, they just got it a while back. Yeah, you can't Google Winnipeg; it doesn't come up. Yeah.
I laughed a few weeks ago. You guys were on and you were ripping into Winnipeg, and Barney mentioned that you had your thing. And Barney's like, COVID's still a thing because everyone's wearing a mask or whatever. And I was laughing out loud. I was like, oh, jeez.
So our friend from Winnipeg is probably texting in all day. I can't see the text line. I don't have access to it here in front of me. But yeah, I'm sure. Is it Gary from Winnipeg that likes to text in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he's texting in all day.
I've stayed away from the text line because the other day, something about being princesses or something like that, or being overly emotional, and people were pointing out in this direction that this person on the show was the princess getting over emotional. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to stay away. I don't need that. I don't need that in my life right now. All right, I think we got Suits back by a phone from from Princess Auto Stadium, where tonight the Winnipeg Blue Bombers will take on the BC Lions. And we were talking about Chris Streveler being the starting quarterback. He looked good in the preseason. Glenn, do you think because of the injury that he suffered, because if that does limit mobility, his offseason training and his focus on becoming more of a pocket passer may have come into play?
Yeah, probably. I think it's fair to say he didn't mention it in our phone call, but I think he would have worked on that while the rehab was going on, and just throwing from the pocket, throwing from just that straight stand up, not throwing on the run and things like that, which is his go-to. That's right in his wheelhouse. So yeah, I think it's a couple of things. It's just that understanding that this opportunity can be taken away from you at any time, and that you should take full advantage when you can. He said when we started back in 2018, that first time he got a chance to start, he lost the first game against Edmonton, and his second start they blew out Montreal, and he said, I just had a completely different mindset even last year. So, I think you're going to see a much more composed guy who can, throw the ball from both the pocket or on the run. It's going to be a challenge for the Lions tonight. I love this matchup because of the way Nathan Rourke played in Week 1. And remember, the Bombers didn't play in Week 1, so they have to bye. And they had that game film from BC. I wonder what kind of edge that could give them, because the Lions didn't have that. They only had preseason tape.
It's going to be a different look, that's for sure. When I think about the Bombers coming into this one, though, I think of Brady Oliveira. What's he going to be in their offense with Streveler under center? I think that's the guy that BC's got to go. We got to stop him first.
Yeah, Sharky, you're right. Like, I asked Buck when we talked to him. Buck Pierce, of course, is returning to Winnipeg tonight. The former offensive coordinator for the Bombers. And I asked Buck, the head coach in BC now, I said, do you walk into your defensive meeting and just say to the guys, listen, if we don't stop Brady Oliveira, we might as well just take the loss and move on to the next week? And he goes, no, I don't approach it that out front and simple. But he says, but clearly we have to be physical on the line of scrimmage. Like, they're going to have to be physical. This has been the story for this team for 2 years now, 3 years. Keep going back to the Grey Cup out of the West on the heels through the heart of this run game. And Brady Oliveira leading the league in rushing. It's not just that he leads the league. It's the way he does it. The offensive line starts pounding the defense. Brady is a hammer when he gets through the line of scrimmage. He is making tacklers pay when he gets through. And by the fourth quarter, they're just folding. And so, I don't think, as long as Brady Oliveira's here, the new play caller was hired from within, so he understands Brady. Was Brady's running back coach, but he's gonna stick with running this offense through the run game and Brady Oliveira. So if the Lions want to win tonight, they've got to stop the run. I mean, if you're betting right now and Brady Oliveira is at 100 plus or minus or something like that, if you take the under, Winnipeg probably loses this game. If you take the over, Winnipeg probably wins this game if he's in the over. If he rushes for 120, 130, Bombers probably win this game. That's been their formula.
Without a doubt. Now, I thought last week the BC Lions did a much better job passing. I think Rourke gives them a much more dynamic offense that way. Barry Hill, I believe, was the big receiver for him, cut the most passes. Yeah, Barry Hill had 6 receptions for 105 yards. Do you see that carrying on again this game, or is Winnipeg going to be able to shut that down?
Well, Winnipeg's got some younger corners, not real veterans. They have 2 halfbacks in their secondary at Home and Nichols, Dietrich Nichols and Evan Home, who are both veterans of 4 or 5 years. So, they know what they're up against here. But the 2 corners aren't. One is Bonds, he's in his second year, and Shamar Bridges, who's relatively young too. So, yeah, I think Nathan played great. I mean, he was the player of the week. I still believe he and Trevor Harris probably are the quickest quarterbacks in the processing department, meaning when they see what they want to go to, they get the ball into their hands quicker than any quarterback in the league, and that includes Bo Levi Mitchell, who we will cover in the Saskatchewan game. These guys, Trevor and Nathan Rourke, I believe are 1 and 1A when it comes to processing and quickness in release. So what does that mean tonight for the Bomber defense? It means that they have to get up and press coverage. You can look for that away from the ball. Are the DBs going to have to close the gap so that he just can't make those quick hot releases? And do they have to play more man-to-man so he can't just work the ball through the zones and through those open areas? There's a lot of intriguing storylines here tonight, but stopping Brady Oliveira on defense for BC is one. If Nathan Rourke is anything like he was in the second half against Edmonton in week 1, this is going to be a shootout.
No kidding.
But Suits, although his title has changed, this is still Richie Hall's defense. The DNA and the fingerprints are all over it. And I would love to have been in those meetings this week to see what, Richie and the rest of the staff have drawn up to stop this, because it's not the first time they've seen it. And if there's one defense in this league, and you know this because you know the man that can give people fits, are still the Bombers. Yeah, you got Willie Jefferson to deal with, but then you've got scheme. Why has Winnipeg been able to be so good over so many years? Because it's the same guy running the same concept. But why is it successful?
Yeah, it is a combination of the scheme of it and the buy-in of it. I've said many times that every team at this level has great athletes on their team. There was a whole tryout process, a free agents process, and through that they looked through many, many players to determine the starting groups when they get to this point and we're getting ready to play regular season football. So these are elite athletes across the board. So what's the difference? The difference is, do we believe in each other? Are we communicating together? Are we playing for each other? Are we a great team? That's one. I think maybe the most important one. Then scheme and sort of talent, speed, the ability to catch the ball, the ability to hit the quarterback, all those things. That's part of the puzzle. It's part of the pie, but it's not all of it. So I think two things for Winnipeg. One is they have been that tight-knit team. There's a reason that this team every year is the fewest penalties in the game. And the reason for it is because they play for each other. They don't want to let each other down. It has nothing to do with coaches' speeches. It has to do with the culture that's been built in Winnipeg from Michael O'Shea all the way down, that if you're in this locker room, then you are here to serve your teammate. You're here to be a great teammate. And so that's why they don't get very many penalties. Not because of a speech or penalty or being fined or anything like that. They don't get penalties because they don't want to let each other down. So I think that's why the Bombers have been as successful as they've been over the last 4 or 5 years. They've been one of the best teams in the league at that, at just coming together, being a tight-knit group, being like a family. We hear that all the time. And, I expect to see a little bit of that again this year, even though there's a lot of new faces. They assimilate pretty quickly to Michael O'Shea's approach to the game.
Glenn, as we get closer to the game on Saturday, the Rider injury report is doing us no favors. Thomas Bertrand-Hudon has been ruled out for this weekend, and there's going to be some roster shuffling and some lineup changes as they head into Hamilton. Are you still feeling confident that with the depth of the Riders, that even though they're going on the road, that they are the better team and can win this game against Bo Levi and the Ticats?
Well, it's going to be a great tight game as well. I think the pressure will be again on the Rider secondary, strength against strength. I know it's not been named official yet. I'm not sure what the status of Roland is quite yet, but I think fingers crossed that he'll be good to go. So that's a great playmaking veteran in the secondary. But there's some playmakers. I mean, Tim White, Kenny Lawler, and a game under their belt for Bo Levi Mitchell to correct some of the things that they messed up in Week 1 in Calgary, because he overshot a couple of throws, and even Kenny Lawler and some of his sure-handed receivers dropped a couple of passes. I mean, Lawler, I think, was targeted 13 times, only caught 6. So they're going to make those corrections. So that's going to be the challenge for the Riders. But here's why, I think this is going to be a game down in the final 3 minutes, is because of Trevor. Trevor Harris is an elite player who, in game 1, dissected the Ottawa defense. I mean, it wasn't every series. It'll never be any series. The other team is throws, and they get paid to, and they're going to make their plays to. But when he needed to, Trevor Harris chewed up that defense. They tried to play zone. They tried to go man. It didn't really matter. MLS has a big game. When you have a quarterback that recognizes and, as I mentioned, gets rid of the ball like Trevor does, you can work around an offensive line that's finding its way because you have a quarterback with a quick release. And, you have a quarterback that understands and has seen every defense. So you always are in the game, even if you're down by 10 early or down by 14 or whatever. You have a veteran quarterback that can bring you back. And remember, last year when they went to Hamilton, they came back from down 10, or I want to say it might have even been 14 in the second half to win. I think it was even a fourth quarter comeback.
All right. Normally, Glenn, when we're chatting with you, it's in your office in posh British Columbia, somewhere in a suburb or whatever, that we're all very enviable. But tonight you're working. You're a working man, earning hard dollars, so we'll let you get to it. He's at Princess Auto Stadium. He's getting ready to call Bombers Lions, which will kick off at 6:30 Saskey time. There is that time change there, so it's already 6:30. Suits, as always, love you. We'll catch up with you on Tuesday. It's press coverage with Glen Suitor for Bronco Plumbing and Heating, where professional service is guaranteed. They'll treat you right. 781-2090. Should be a good game tonight. It's got all the makings of it.
Thanks, gentlemen.
No shortage
Thank
of some
you.
firepower. Yeah. Once Nathan Work got rolling last week, I was like, uh-oh. And Buck Pierce is the perfect offensive coordinator for him to have now. Knows the game, moving that pocket, doing stuff, taking advantage of the opportunities. I don't think he's going to be able to run like he did against the Elks.
No.
With his, he'll run. I don't know if he's going to be getting necessarily the yardage that he got against the Elks.
The Bombers' defense is better than Edmonton's. I don't think there's anybody in the league that thinks otherwise. The Bombers are, we've said it all year. We've talked about it a lot. They're still a great football team. They're defending Western champions. They are a little bit older. I'm not going to lie to you. They are a little bit older, so we're gonna see some guys maybe get nicked up and take a little longer to recover. But this is a game that's in BC's lap, and that they have a chance with Streveler in there to get themselves to 2-0 and win on the road, which is huge to go into Winnipeg and take a game. But Streveler's got an opportunity to cement himself as the 1A, if you will, with Caleros, right? And give himself a better look in the Bombers offense. So there's a lot at stake for both clubs. Interesting to see how it all works out. You're going to be back. I got to have 2 TVs on tonight. I got to be watching 2 games at the same time.
Whatever happened to picture-in-picture? It was one of the best inventions of the late 90s, early 2000s, and now technology is better than ever.
Yeah,
and
but no picture-in-picture. Nope. Yep.
It's completely gone. I'm sorry, but one of my kids will not be playing Minecraft tonight because I'm going to be watching on one of their iPads one of the games while we're watching. I'll do football on the iPad, hockey on the other.
I got I'll have 2 TVs in the man cave. We set up. I'll be good. I'll be able to watch everything.
Side by side. All right, time to take a break. When we come back, tonight, Panthers, Oilers. Oilers fans, well, Sharky's an Oilers fan. We'll ask about how nervous he is for this evening. Hey, if you want to be part of the show, Prairieland Rentals text line, you can always jump in at any time. 306-936-6262. Take a break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. This is the Sports Cage on the home of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 620 CKRM. Season kicks off tonight in less than an hour's time. The Lions are in Winnipeg to take on the Bombers. It's going to be Chris Streveler getting the start because Zach Caleros is suspended. At the U.S. Open earlier today, J.J. Spaun shot a 66. Nice. Leads after round 1. Panthers-Oilers tonight. It's Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final in Sunrise, Florida. Face-off tonight will go around 6:20. And the Regina Red Sox are on the road, taking on the Weyburn Beavers tonight. Tom Lang Park. First pitch there goes at 7. And Sharky, speaking of the Regina Red Sox, we got word earlier today. The Regina Red Sox and the Regina Pats have called a giant press conference for tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. where a big announcement will be made. And we're like, okay.
What the heck? What are they up to?
We do not know. Regina
Did Mr.
Red
Semple
Sox
buy the team?
I am not sure. Regina Red Sox, because Coulson, right? Yeah, so Coulson, yeah. So the we were having our meeting. A big email came down. Press conference tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Regina Red Sox, Regina Pats. Now, Coulson, do you know anything more on this, or are you as in the dark as we are?
Where is this press conference tomorrow, Coulson?
I might know where it is, but other than that, yeah, it's just there is an announcement. That is it. It's Red Sox. Pats, I think it was technically like the entertainment group that owns one of them, whatever.
Queen City Sports and Entertainment?
Yes. Yeah. Is making the announcement. So that's all it says. See if I can.
10 a.m. tomorrow.
I don't even know.
10 a.m. tomorrow.
I got so many emails.
Coulson, you got to get me the details on that. I got to do some follow up there.
All right. I do know from our side of things that Tegan Whitco will be there because I believe Dave Thomas is in the air going to Hamilton. So Dave would probably love to be there, but he's got a football game to call. But yeah, Tegan will be there and we'll have coverage
tomorrow. Yeah. To whatever happens tomorrow, we'll have on the cage tomorrow. But tomorrow morning at 10, they're having this press conference. Now, last night at the Brand Center, John Party kicked off his Honky Tonk Hollywood Canadian leg of his tour. Did you see that video on social media? Somebody threw a bra on stage. Yeah, and it's like the world's biggest bra, and he's like swinging it around and singing. Like, so at what point do you just like set it down? Do you throw it back in the crowd? Like, do you just Give it to one of the road crew to be like.
I think he hung it up on a microphone stand down the way.
Sure.
Is what he did. He kept that. We'll keep that as a souvenir for on the bus as we carry on this tour. Yeah.
So
see
since
how many they can collect.
My long and winding radio career has had many stops at music stations, and I remember I was working at a station. And do you remember in the early mid 2000s there was a rock band called Hinder? They had the song "Lips of an Angel." They had some. They're from Oklahoma City, and they're not bad. Like this is like 2007, 8, 9, 10-ish. A lead singer, his name is Austin Winkler. So the radio station I was working at, I had to go up on stage and be like, "Hey, well, you screaming into a microphone, no one's paying attention," just so you could say the radio station's call letters and name. But the road manager, so on they had the lead singer's microphone stand, it was covered in bras, and explicitly, do not touch the lead singer's microphone stand. I'm like, no problem. It didn't look good. It didn't look healthy. I was like, that is not a problem. I will be off the other side of the stage, and no problem. But I remember it was explicitly, do not touch the lead singer's microphone stand because it was covered. My favorite,
obviously,
John
he was
Party
getting
song.
a collection. Yeah, he was obviously doing a collection for himself. Yeah.
My favorite John Party song, "Ain't Always the Cowboy." He's got some good ones. He's got some bangers like "Night Shift" and "Heartache in the Dance Floor" and "Head Over Boots," but it ain't always the cowboy. I like Party because he's a real cowboy. Like he grew up as a rodeo kid and a rodeo cowboy and had a blue collar life before he, went to Nashville and
he owns the story.
Hit it big.
He owns the story. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, missed that last night. Traveling for work. That would have been a great show to be at. That's for sure.
Panthers Oilers tonight. Sharky, tell me, you've got to be at least, as an Oiler fan, you've got to be at least a little nervous because here, Florida is relentless. They won't change.
Florida's a very good hockey club. There is no doubt about it. They're getting action from all four lines. We've talked about Bennett and Marchand already today and used the word Conn Smythe, which I'm having trouble wrapping my head around. There is no doubt that you have to be on top of your game when you play Florida. I thought Edmonton was in game 1 and 2. I thought they played extremely well, pushed the puck, pushed the pace, gave Florida all they could handle with a win and the loss in double overtime. I do think, though, Edmonton's bounce back and their drive and the business-like approach they've taken so far in the playoffs is going to come through tonight. That's why I've got a ton of confidence in this game tonight. Everything that they've done after a loss has just been to raise their game to another level. And that's what I see coming out tonight. I mean, Florida's got to, you think about it, to maintain the pace that Florida's on, there's going to be a drop. At some point, they got to drop a little bit. And I think this is their game that they drop a little bit. And I think we go back to Edmonton Saturday night, 2-2.
Our Twitter poll would agree with you. Our Twitter poll was, do you think the Oilers will be able to bounce back tonight? 58% of voters said absolutely. And then
I'm not sure if that's a good thing that the Twitter poll agrees with me or a bad thing.
Don't worry. Only 10% said it'll be another blowout. So
I don't see that. I don't see that at all. And everybody's talking about the shenanigans that happened. The shenanigans happened after it was 4-1, after Edmonton realized they had no breaks going their way. So they tried to create some anxiety and some stress and some tension and if nothing else, break Bennett's arm and see if they could get through to them. Bennett's a nuisance. He's a pest. Just the fact that he lands on a goaltender whenever he's near it and doesn't get waived or doesn't get a penalty, nobody falls on a goaltender that many times by accident. It's on purpose. Trust me.
One of the things that the Oilers aren't used to is how physical this is. And you saw this the other night when Aaron Ekblad got a piece of Connor McDavid and sent him flying. McDavid is not used to that, and that's not going to stop. And it said Sharky, he's been skating around, and Barney always says, like the 11 p.m. men's league game or whatever, where he's going untouched. Yeah. That won't let up. And it's funny, Ekblad, his best buddy from junior, is the guy that knocks him on his ass and sends him flying.
There's a way to look at that too, in that you don't get many chances to hit Connor McDavid, just the speed and the agility that he's got.
Yeah.
So it's rare that you get one, so take it when you get it. Ekblad did. But if you start making lunges or leaps, he's going to make you look bad, and the puck's going to be in the back of your net. So Florida can't go, we're going to run McDavid or we're going to chase him down. It won't work. He can escape. He's too shifty. He's too crafty. He's got too much foot speed. And if you do focus on him overly, there are too many other weapons on that Oiler hockey team that he can get the puck to. So, I mean, that was good of Ekblad to get a shot on him and make the hit, but it'll be rare that they get multiples of those within any hockey game.
Troy Stecher and Jeff Skinner are in tonight. Stecher replaces Klingberg, who Florida did a masterful job punishing him anytime he got the puck. And then last game he got tangled up with the referee. And was it Reinhardt or Verhaeghe that stole
Reinhardt,
and quick
Reinhardt,
goal? And then
it was
Reinhardt. And then it was 3-1.
Stetcher's a good move.
It is.
Yeah. Skinner, I don't see the difference. I don't think Knobloch's got a ton of trust or faith in Skinner to play their system. I mean, there's a guy that scored 30 goals and they can't seem to find a spot for him on the ice. Edmonton's system is very unique. It is very different than lots of other teams play. It's a puck possession system. I think Skinner's maybe not quite good enough to play in that system, and that's hard to say when you're a National Hockey League player. But he's just trying to mix his lines up a little bit, maybe get a little more speed on that line instead of Arvidsson. But Sketcher's a good move. He's a younger defenseman. He's a great puck mover. I like the move. Klingberg, he could be a little banged up. Like, he's coming back from a long time off with an injury, and he could be a little banged up. It would be easy for that to happen. And so the Sketcher move, I think, is going to be very positive for him.
Can't forget, and nobody talks about him, but Sasha Barkov, with last change in Florida, like in Connor, he's been stapled to McDavid, and he's done a wonderful job. And you can see the frustration, and that won't change. And even if Florida, the best part about both of these teams, if they do get down, normally there's no quit because they know they can come back because they've done it before. And that's why, as a fan, it's great. I didn't even mind last game. Even when it was getting rough and tumble, I'm like, good, because that's old school hockey.
It's playoff hockey at this time. Yeah.
Face-off tonight at Sunrise.
You're exactly right on Paul Maurice using his last change very, very well. That's why home ice was a big deal for them going to that seventh game, right? Whereas Edmonton, when they get it back in their barn, it's going to be a big deal for them too. Those are the things within a game that a lot of people don't see. But when Barkov's able to play against McDavid, those are two of the best at their game. So somebody's got to be the winner, and we'll see if McDavid can win that tonight.
We'll take our final break on the show. When we come back, we're going to hear from Corey Mace, head coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. It was a closed practice today, but because of injuries, a whole bunch of questions, and what this roster will look like on Saturday, we have no idea. We'll check in with Coach Mace next. This is the Sports Cage. You can watch what we're doing on our live stream on X at Sports Cage or on our YouTube channel at sportscage.com. You can just click in right there. And we're on the radio at 620 CKRM. The Saskatchewan Day of Caring for wildfire evacuees province-wide. It's a radiothon happening on radio stations all across Saskatchewan. We've gotten together to help raise money for the Saskatchewan Red Cross to help families affected. You can make a donation simply by texting the word radio to 45678 to make a $10 donation. All right, we've got a few minutes left on the show here. It's Maz and Sharky filling in for Barney today. Sharky is brought to you by Flooring Superstore. We got a chance to catch up with Coach Mace after practice today. It was closed on the final day, as they normally do. They will travel to Hamilton tomorrow. And we asked Coach Mace about Thomas Bertrand-Hudon and his practice and availability.
Yeah, he was sprinting a little bit. So, again, we'll probably just kind of make a decision here and see how he reacts after that. But looked a lot better. I think the day of rest was smart for him.
So that was right after practice. But when the injury report was released, it said that they had ruled him out for the game this weekend. So, naturally, we asked Coach Mace, what does this mean for Kadeem Carey and making the roster this week?
Yeah, there is a pathway potential for that, but there's multiple moves that would probably have to be made. So I don't want to say no to anything, but we'll just see what's the deal with Thomas.
It's nothing new in the CFL. I mean, a guy goes down. Usually a ratio is coming into play somewhere.
And it comes into play here. It's a lot of Canadian Americans switch up here, right? With Bertrand Hudon being a Canadian, you gotta find another Canadian.
But if I trust what I read on the internet, Sharky, and I've been duped into it before, about 7 or 8 years ago, I remember reading a tiny article on some questionable website about a stock to buy because Apple was going to not just do giant Apple stores, they were going to do all these mini models, and this company had all of the leases in these mini malls for these mini Apple stores.
Go on.
Do you want to know how the rest of the story panned out?
Please.
So anyways, somebody said on one of the message board yesterday, because Carey's played in the league 6 years, that would qualify him as a designated Canadian, or, you know, that crazy rule, like if you've been in the league long enough, you can play X amount of snaps. And I'm like, yes.
Now.
Right. So now it's a math thing. Yes.
Caveat.
So if, yeah.
Does that not have to be with the same team?
Well, that's like having to be in love with the same woman your whole life. As long as you're in love, you're a romantic, Sharky. Like that. No, that's how it is.
That's not exactly how it works. Colson?
I don't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure it's 3 years with one team or 5 or 6 years in the league. You can be a designated American or a designated national or something.
Yeah.
That's just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
All right.
And we're not good on fact checking, so anything just off the top of the head is good enough for us to run with. So let's go with that. I
am reviewing. All right. Be a Canadian player with 5 or more years of experience, 3 years with the same team. He's part of a team that has at least 21 Canadian nationals, including one nationalized American. Yeah, there seems to be a whole bunch of options. It's not simple.
It's a lot of legal jargon. If
3
we had a
years
lawyer
with one
sponsoring
team,
this
5
show,
years in the league.
Yeah. All right.
From
all right. So that's good. Yeah.
I've been out Googled by Colson.
If you missed any part of the show, Rick Zamperin was great. New play-by-play voice of the Ticats on his second time around. That was a great interview. You can catch the podcast, Apple, Spotify, or just go back and watch the stream on YouTube. Tomorrow on the show, Dustin Edwards will be on to talk about the 3 rodeos happening in southern Saskatchewan. Also, Farhan Lalji will join us, and Dave Thomas, voice of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. We're hoping to have Dave right after 5 o'clock, because by then the team will have landed in Hamilton. They should be back at the hotel, and we'll get you set up for Riders Ticats on Saturday. That'll do it for this edition of the Sports Cage. We appreciate you listening. And as always, if you want to give us a follow on the socials, have a great night. Sharky wants to say go Oilers, and we'll say go Panthers.
Go Oilers, and see you at the Pilot Butte Rodeo Friday night.
Talk to you tomorrow at 3.